Hi everyone, my name is Hana Choi. I'm from Robinson Secondary School, and today I'm going to be presenting on how the perpetuation of ableism affects the mental and physical health of disabled people. So I'm going to start off today with a self-introduction. Who am I? Get to know me. What is ableism? Give you a definition, acts of ableism and microaggressions, the effects of ableism, mental and physical, a conclusion on how to prevent ableism, what you can do to help prevent this, give you my references, where I got all my information and acknowledgements, some thank yous, and just finishing it all off. So a little introduction. So my name's Hana Choi. I go to James W. Robinson Junior Secondary School, class of 2023, a junior right now. I'm on the varsity indoor and outdoor track and field team. I'm an officer of the Robinson Medical Club, an intern at a local GI and IM clinic, and I actually had the pleasure of presenting at the 2020 GHLC at JHU Student Speaker Series, Statement and Treatment of Disabled Persons Around the World. And today I'm going to be presenting a little sequel to that, how the perpetuation of ableism affects the mental and physical health of disabled people. So what is ableism? A definition: microaggressions and acts of ableism. If you don't know what microaggressions are, don't worry, I will go over it. Ableist stereotypes. So the dictionary definition of ableism: discrimination or prejudice against individuals with disabilities. And in other words, the wish to present and enforce a normal onto people. And it honestly is everywhere. In the workforce, being considered lazy or a hindrance to your team because you're disabled. In education, being considered less smart than someone because of what you look like or how you act. And it can be internalized and committed unknowingly, but there's no reason for it to be excused. So microaggressions and acts of ableism. Starting off, what is a microaggression? Well, it's a comment or action that subtly or unintentionally expresses a prejudiced attitude toward a member of a marginalized group, in this case, the disabled. And a common form of ableism and a microaggression is putting people into categories by asking questions about how disabled someone may be or how they became disabled. But why should you care? Well, by assuming a disabled person is unable to do common tasks, you're treating them as less than human. And this is often ingrained in us from a young age and internalized as time goes on. These actions are unconscious, proof that ableism is not one that's seen as comforting, and it's anything but. It alienates people, causing them to think lesser of themselves. Now, enforcing ableist stereotypes is also a huge microaggression that we see every single day in our media, in our day-to-day lives. It's being seen as pitiable or pathetic because of your disability, being seen as an object of curiosity or violence, wanting to investigate a disability, want to cure it, fix someone, portraying a disabled person or character as sinister or evil, showing someone to be superhuman because they defeated their disability, showing them to be an atmosphere or plot device to keep the story moving, show that a character is kind and compassionate or mean and cruel, showing a disabled character or person as laughable, making fun of them, making them the butt of the joke, making them seem like they're their own worst enemy, make them think lesser of themselves, make them feel like a burden. This happens every single day. Make them seem non-sexual because they can't do something, unable to participate in a normal life. And these stereotypes further hinder the growth and health of disabled people by encouraging these ideals to be held as true in our society. It causes harmful mental and physical effects. And the effects are both mental and physical. Now, the mental effects consist of imposter syndrome, a consistent doubt to the point where you almost feel like a fraud, where you feel ashamed for being somewhere. Anxiety, severe anxiety, and depression. Disabled adults have actually been shown and considered to be 3.7 times more likely to be diagnosed with depression than the average adult. And in a recent 2017 study, there was a correlation between negative social interactions between disabled people and families and colleagues, partnerships, and increased anxiety and depression. And in the American Employment Screening Services, they reported that only 7% of disabled individuals said they were a part of a group that was being socially discriminated against, which means these acts of ableism have been internalized by the community. And it's actually very common. And here are some physical effects. Most of these physical effects are a result of ableist actions being pushed onto disabled people in the form of institutions and caregivers and facilities. And they include muscle atrophy, lobotomies, and long-term bodily restraint. And lobotomies, if you're wondering what that is, you've never heard that word before. Well, it's wanting to and actually performing neurosurgery to take out a lobe of the brain to try to fix a neuro disability. And how do we prevent this? How can we work towards supporting and uplifting the disabled community? Well, the first step is employ the social model of disability. And what is that? Well, it's learning that disabled people are not the problem, but it's the disabling world. In other words, lack of accessibility and equity, not having ramps up to a building, badly designed buildings, poor job prospects for people, isolated families, inaccessible transport, discrimination, few sign language interpreters, and special schools for disabled people. And we must unlearn the medical model of disability that all disabled people are housebound. They need help and carers. They have serious fits. They're sick. We're looking for a cure. They can't see or hear. They can't do anything. That they have too many can'ts. And we must recognize ableism, accept disability, and forget the normalcy narrative that you may have been taught. Learn to push for accessibility in places where you don't normally see it. And learn about ableism, which you're actually doing right now. Hold companies accountable and make sure that they don't take advantage of disabled workers. And push for that transparent hiring. And more importantly, speak out. Remember to speak out against ableist stereotypes that are being indirectly and directly taught to us and employed in our day-to-day lives. Now, this is a terrific example in comparison of two forms of media that employ two very different visions and ideas of disabled people. Forrest Gump employs the use of ableist stereotypes in his directing, writing, and acting, showing Forrest as the butt of his joke and making his achievements seem superhuman because of his disability, poliomyelitis, and making him seem non-sexual in that his crush refused him because of his disability. Whereas in A Quiet Place, the directors, writers, and actors made an effort to learn ASL and actually cast a deaf actor in a deaf role. Now, some of these cast members to this day actually use ASL in their day-to-day lives. And here are my resources that I use throughout my entire presentation. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation and learned a lot. Now, thank you to the GHLC for allowing me and giving me the opportunity to present today. And thank you to my counselor, Ms. Panzenhagen, for giving me recommendations and helping me throughout my processes. Thank you to my friend, Sophia, and my friend Marisol for helping me and fact-checking me throughout this entire thing. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at hannahchoi2005@gmail.com. Want to learn more? Feel free to visit my website where I will have the slideshow posted. And if you're interested in my 2020 presentation, feel free to go and hit that link. Thank you and have an amazing day, everyone.